Previously on Higurashi When They Cry console arcs. If someone is out there, maybe it's just Sonozaki-san returning here. But Yuki-chan did say more than one just now. But if that's the case, what then? Duck and cover.
窓開けるぞ。
Okay, you stick your neck out. Let us be the first casualty.
待って、龍之介さん。
I stood up and vigorously opened the window before Yuki-chan's cries to stop could reach my ears. The sound of the falling rain grew even louder. Indeed, I could hear the sound of footsteps mixed together with the splashing rain. But the footsteps sounded rough. Sonozaki-san was wearing sandals, so these couldn't possibly be hers.
誰だ。それは。
見ての通りの巻物さ。
そりゃ見ればわかりますけど。
こいつを取りに西宮殿へ行ってたのさ。誰かさんの悲鳴を聞いて中途半端に出てきちまったからね。
Apparently this scroll is what Sonozaki-san was searching the ritual storehouse for. So, she wasn't demoned away. Well, she's right in front of you. So, obviously not. I felt relieved, but also disappointed. It was a conflicting feeling. Sonozaki-san wasn't necessarily behind the demoning ways. However, she did seem the most likely candidate for the culprit.
なんだい荒川。人の顔をジロジロ見て。
いや、別に。
I was too frightened of her to say anything. Still, I could see the amazing force behind Sonozaki-san's eyes.
なーにおどおどしてるんだよ。今からあんたのこと乙部2号って呼ぶよ。
Please do not insult me by calling me that name. However, Yuki-chan's expression was looking increasingly firm. And then she rested her chin on her right fist, deep in thought.
どうした。
置いておいたってどうしてですか。
いや、さっき乙部みたいに俺もケツのポケットから落としそうになってさ、どうせ繋がらないならと思ってそこに。
Ah, so that's all it is? But Yuki-chan didn't say that. Yuki-chan's face gradually clouded over as she listened to my explanation.
それっておかしくないですか。だって乙部君の携帯はボロボロに壊されてたのに、どうして龍之介さんの携帯は壊されていないんですか。
それはなんでだろうな。繋がらないからじゃないか。
おかしいですよ。乙部君の携帯だって電池切れで使い物になりませんでした。黒沢さんを殺した犯人は死体を運び込むためにこの集会場へ来たんでしょ。もし同一犯なんだとしたら、なぜ犯人は乙部君の携帯を壊して龍之介さんの携帯は見逃したんでしょう。
それはここに置いてあるのを見つけて、たまたまアンテナが立ってなかったとしても、ちょっと場所を動けば繋がる可能性だってある。
つまりそれって
たたりってことですか。
Towa-sen said that while still holding Kurosawa's body close to her chest.
たたりだって。
違うんですか。だってお社様のたたりだから、どの携帯が繋がってどれが繋がらないかなんて全部お見通しってことじゃないですか。
She's taking full advantage of our confusion in order to divert attention away from herself. You little opportunist, you. Towa-sen said that while gazing into the face of her dead lover like he was simply asleep. However, I couldn't agree with her assessment.
いや、そんなんじゃねえだろ。少なくとも別の可能性の方が高い。
It seemed strange for an occult specialist to suggest this, but I was hesitant to accept the curse explanation so easily.
別の可能性？ああ、 単純な話だ。俺たちのうちの誰かならその事実を間違いなく知ってる。ということは少なくとも乙部の携帯を壊した犯人はこの中にいるってことだ。
荒川さんの言う通りかもしれないですよね。この村に足を踏み入れた人間は全員人を食い殺す死者の霊に取り憑かれて死んでしまうんですよ。最初は匠くん、そして次は。
やめてくださいよ、十和田様で。
だってそうとしか考えられないでしょう。そうじゃなかったら誰が匠くんを殺したって言うんですか。
Towa-sen rubbed Kurosawa's cheek with a hollow look in her eyes as she said that. None of us could respond to her declaration. Mion probably could. A vague feeling of anxiety was building up inside of me, thanks to that one specific line of reasoning. And I wanted to speak up, to say that idea sounded delusional. However, I didn't have enough solid evidence, so I couldn't dispute it.
ちょっと待った。あんたはどこ行くんだよ。
ちょいとうちに用があるのさ。
うちにって。
決まってるだろ。園崎の本邸だよ。
あんたそんなところへ何しに行くんだ。昨べの黒服の連中あんたを狙ってきたんだろ。
おしゃべりはそれくらいにしておきな。下手な好奇心は猫をも殺すって言うだろ。
Sonozaki-san said only that, then quickly stepped out of the meeting room.
ちょっと待てよ。俺をこんなところに置いていこうって言うのかよ。それに好奇心も何も。もう巻き込まれてんだからどの道一緒だろうが。
それを言うなら僕だって一人でこんなところにいるのなんてごめんですよ。
しょうがないね。そんなに待たないよ。さっさと支度しな。
It felt like Sonozaki-san was trying to break through the front gate.
マジかよ。くそ。
荒川さん。
Otobe and I followed Sonozaki-san's lead and started running.
逃がすな。あいつは化け物だ。化け物。
In the brief moment I was distracted by the voice of the man in black. A bullet flew by and hit the gate of the Sonozaki residence right behind my back. It seemed like they were trying to repel our advance. Two more dry gunshots roared out.
奴ら俺たちまで殺す気かよ。
当然だろ。仲間だと思われててもおかしくないからね。
でもどうして。
荒川。
I wonder if Sonozaki-san is still fighting at the front gate of the estate. As I followed the trail through the forest, I came across a tunnel that looked like a coal mine or a shelter in the side of a steep slope. Surrounded by gentle slopes, this spot was impossible to see from the outside.
これってもしかして隠し通路。
ここが。
A sturdy door was installed here, likely to intimidate any who would come near. What's this? Something felt odd. When I studied the door in front of me, something felt out of place. As I quietly gazed at it, my breathing became rough and erratic. The door was slightly open. Oh, great. There's someone already here, isn't there?
どうしたんですか。
扉が開いてる。
For a brief moment, the surrounding area was bathed in light. And in that moment, I saw insects clinging to the walls, and a trail of white smoke running along the floor of the passageway. Is this smoke? Poison gas? Well, ain't that a bitch? By the time I noticed it, it was already too late. One of the men in black must have ran ahead here and filled this area with poison gas. Warned you about that open door. I warned you. That's right. I wish I had been more cautious when I found the door open. I don't have any time left for regrets. The way I live may already be decided, but the way I die is not. That much is certainly true. I absolutely don't want to die quietly in a filthy, dark, smelly place where nobody will find me. I don't want to die. I'm sure nobody will ever know that I died here. My family won't know where to look for me. Even if Otobe's family gets worried and they issue a search request, they'll never find us in here. I don't want to die. Not like this. I never wanted this. But my regrets are in vain, because my thoughts will cease soon enough. Damn it. Damn it! And so it continues. Greetings, my name is Neosekken, and welcome back to my Let's Play of the Higurashi when they cry console arcs. It is a brand spanking new year, and just in time for that is us starting a brand spanking new console arc. Perfect timing all around, I must say. And it looks to me like next on our list of console arcs is the police case files. So, Ushi, you're part of the police. These are files concerning cases involving the police. Are you perhaps going to be our main character in these? Police case files, prologue/epilogue scenes. These are short scenes that appear at the beginning and end of the three major sets of arcs. They should be read in order, and only after finishing the arcs above them. Okinomiya Police Station Incident Report, Prologue. Onikakushi, Watanagashi, Higurashi, and Somotsushi. Okinomiya Police Station Incident Report, Epilogue. Metropolitan Public Security's 7th Room Case File, Prologue. Himatsubushi, Mikishi, and Kagabushi. And Metropolitan Public Security's 7th Room Case File, Epilogue. National Police Agency Administrative Document, Prologue. Sumo Hoboroshi and Yoigoshi. National Police Agency Administrative Document, Epilogue. Looks to me like we got a fair amount of reading to do here. Let's get started. Oh, we're just already right at a menu. Oh, I see. I gotta read them through all these, huh? As part of the tip menu. I was like, but it didn't even, nothing started. But yeah, okay. Glad we already got that 2-second mystery solved right out of the gate. Okinomiya Police Station Incident Report, Prologue. In the far corner of my consciousness, I heard the sound of someone snoring. When I realized it was coming from me, I chased the grogginess away and slowly opened my eyes. Look at you, man, sleeping on the job. Right before my eyes, I found a fluorescent light shining down on me from a lightly stained ceiling. Though I only planned to take a short rest in the break room, apparently I fell all the way asleep. I must have slept in a weird position. I felt a dull ache in my shoulders and my temple. Well, if I leave it alone for a while, the blood flow will get back to normal and I'll probably start feeling better. A yawn leaked out as I raised my upper body and squeezed at the back of my neck. The short hand on the clock was pointing straight up, and a single cigarette was lying in the ashtray on the table, burnt down to the butt. I had no memory of smoking it, but maybe I needed one before falling asleep. If I had somehow dropped it on the sofa, I could have started a fire. Now that would be one hell of a report to file to your boss, now wouldn't it?
危ない危ない。
I rose to my feet with the ashtray in hand as I smiled bitterly and talked to myself, then dumped the ashes in a cigarette bin in the corner of the room. A myriad of cigarette butts were piled on top of the murky water inside a can. The pungent aroma quickly forced a grimace along my face. Thanks to that smell, my drowsiness was all but gone.
そろそろタバコともおさらばしないとな。
The sooner the better. Your lungs will thank you. Starting tomorrow. No, the clock says the date has already changed. So, starting today, I guess? But the urges might keep me up at night in the future, costing me the precious opportunity to cool my head. However, it would still be better for my health than spending major chunks of my time doing nothing and not thinking about anything. Though the habit is so deeply ingrained in me that I doubt I'd be able to quit. It'd be nice to have something else I can enjoy as much as eating, sleeping, and getting into fights.
刑事以外の日中の過ごし方ね。畑仕事なんて柄じゃないからな。
I chuckled at the mental image of myself standing in the dirt, working the fields. It's such a helpless story. Even though I'm scheduled to depart next week, I still haven't put much thought into it. The unforgettable landscape of the countryside around Okinomiya was etched into my mind. It's been so long since I visited my mother that I can't think of what her area looks like now. But they're in the planning stages for a large-scale airport that should open in a few years, which will make transportation more convenient. That's what she said in her letter anyway. So I guess so.
ま、いいでしょう。命を取られるわけでもなし、行ってから知るのも一興ってやつです。
Besides, I'll be busy looking after my aging mother. That ought to kill plenty of time. I've been blessed with a strong body and living my life as I please for a long time, with little regard for my parents. They say a divine punishment befalls those who don't respect their parents.
天罰か。
I don't know, man. I mean, if you love your mother, I mean, wouldn't your first instinct would be to try to take care of her in her old age? Make sure she's got someone looking after her that actually gives a shit about her? I muttered the words swirling around inside my head while picking up one of the thick files sitting on the desk in front of me and looked at the title on the cover. The series of deaths and disappearances in Hinamizawa. If divine punishment truly exists, there's probably no greater example of it than this. It's difficult to evaluate using human understanding and beyond the realm of comprehension.
hinamizawa村。
Officially known as the Hinamizawa district of Shishibone City. The village of around 2,000 people, where the power of the mayor and public authorities paled in comparison to the three great families who effectively ruled the area since ancient times, and the faith in their local god Orishiro-sama that the residents passed down through the generations, along with the curse said to have befallen non-believers in recent years. But it's all gone now, and the people who were left behind have been scattered across the surrounding area. And it all began in the cases summarized in these files. Oh, are we done with one? If they're all going to be this relatively short, then this might end up being a pretty short episode. And a pretty short arc to boot. Okinomiya Police Station Incident Report. Epilogue. After reading the last case in the file, I closed the cover and suddenly turned to gaze out the window. The eastern sky was clearly visible, and the morning sun was pouring in through the gaps between the blinds.
やれやれ、結局朝までコースか。
Yeah, I'd probably be here several nights. As a matter of fact, if I read the first few main story arcs back to back, all in one sitting, I would need a shit ton of green tea to stay awake through it all. I was planning to stop after a quick look, but I just kept reading on. Is this some pathetic occupational disorder? At any rate, today is the last day I'll be involved, so maybe I'll just have a few lingering regrets. It's truly unfortunate. The sheer number of lives lost, and even the people who survived were driven mad. And it's a personal tragedy for me, too.
クマちゃん。
When I closed my eyes, a vision of my energetic subordinate detective suddenly floated into mind. I happened to be called into the prefectural police headquarters on urgent business the day when the disaster struck, so he went to Hinamizawa in my place.
大丈夫っすよ、大石さん。こっちは俺に任せて、もっと面倒っぽいそっちの方をお願いします。
バカ野郎。
Of course, I wasn't directing that abuse toward him. It was targeted at myself. He went to Hinamizawa to take care of something I wanted to do, and he defied orders from above to do it. Getting injured and dying while working a case is an occupational hazard in this line of duty, and I probably would have welcomed it. But it was different in his case. In other words, it feels like he died in my place.
なんで私はこうして生きているんでしょうね。
To speak those words was an insult to the dead. Even I understood that. But I just couldn't help muttering it. A young man with a family and a promising future has departed this world, and his death only highlighted the disgrace of my life. Was it just luck that allowed me to live as long as I have? Or did the ones pulling the strings behind everything believe I wasn't worthy of killing?
くすってり。
I suddenly looked up toward the heavens and spat those words out. In reality, I'm retreating from this line of work without learning anything. The truth is still in the darkness. I could hear the jeering voices of those people whose faces I didn't know, and suddenly began to clench my fists. For now, the best I can do is to remember, to absolutely never forget this incident, and keep it locked away in the corner of my heart. At any rate, today is my last day as a detective.
さて、シャワーを浴びて着替えて、見栄えだけでも小綺麗にしておきますかね。
Naturally, it would be rude to stand before my peers looking shabby and filthy as they see me off on my final day. But they're probably used to seeing you like that, so, I mean, why not just go out with them remembering you how they always see you? As I thought that, I bundled the massive set of files together and returned to my seat in the Criminal Investigation Division. Then I grabbed the locker key out of my desk drawer and turned toward the shower room. Just then, an electronic beeping echoed out of the phone on the desk, and the extension light was lit up. When I noticed the call was directed specifically to my desk, I lifted the receiver and pushed the button.
もしもし。な、こんばんは。おはようございます。
大石さん。
I heard a junior detective on the other end of the phone. That's right, he should be on night duty today. He sounded a little surprised that I was still here. Well, veteran detectives do head out pretty early in the morning, so it's natural for him to be confused.
はい、大石ですよ。どうかしましたか？
はい。大石さんに外線からお電話です。赤坂という方からだそうですが。
赤坂？
Oh boy, I wonder what he wants.
はて。
Probably has absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with the Great Hinamizawa disaster, I'm sure. I tilted my head for a moment and quickly remembered. Wasn't he the elite investigator from Tokyo who worked with me on a case a while back? Good grief. If I can't remember someone right after hearing their name, I guess the old age is kicking in.
すいません。その人は私の知り合いです。つないでいただけますか？
わかりました。
And shortly thereafter, I heard a familiar voice coming through the receiver.
大石さん、お久しぶりです。
おお、赤坂さん。懐かしいですね。何年ぶりでしょうか。
5年ぶりです。あの時は本当にお世話になりました。
いや、そんなことは。大してお役にも立てませんでしたからね。
そんなことはありません。おかげで目的を果たすことができましたし、それ以上にたくさんのことを教わりました。ありがとうございます。
やめてくださいよ。そんなことを言われ続けてると、おだてられて舞い上がった豚が木に登っちゃいますよ。
Although I tried to downplay it. Until now, I've been working in an industry that surrounded me in lies and human deception, so it was comforting to hear someone speak so earnestly. It was actually quite pleasant. A man like him is destined to do great things if he continues down this career path.
して、赤坂さん、今日はどんなご用件で？
もちろん、お祝いのご挨拶ですよ。勤続40年超えのお勤め、お疲れ様でした。
これは、どうもご丁寧に。
You serious? That's literally all you called me for. Well, I mean, I appreciate the gesture all the same, but still. It's very uneventful.
よくご存知でしたね。誰からお聞きになったんです？
そちらの公安課の本田屋さんからです。先週の合同研修の際に教えていただきまして。
なるほど。そういうことですか。
いろいろとお話をお伺いしました。連絡が今日まで遅くなってしまって、本当に申し訳ありません。
お気遣い痛み入ります。
Hondaya probably also told him that one of my subordinates died while investigating the Hinamizawa case. Of course, there was no reason for Akasaka-san to apologize, nor did I have one to reproach him. Not at all. Still, it must have filled him with regret when he found out. He probably wishes he could have helped sooner and found me some useful intel. And the same goes for me. One more thing to regret. Right after the disaster occurred, I was terrified of getting anyone else involved. After all, I didn't want anyone else to end up like Kumagai. But as a result, no progress was ever made on the Hinamizawa investigation, and it will probably end with my retirement. It's so incomprehensible, so horrible. And when faced with an opponent like that, I can't accomplish anything on my own. I should have asked for help. Well, unfortunately, as we've seen many times now, even if you did ask for help, it still wouldn't have been enough. So don't knock yourself too much.
そんなわけですから、大石さん。私も本日はそちらにお邪魔させていただきます。部外者の分際で申し訳ありませんが、どうかよろしくお願いします。
いやいや、ひょっとして赤坂さん、わざわざ東京からですか？そんな、申し訳ないです。まったく、こんなおっさんがいなくなるだけで、みんな大げさすぎますよ。ね。
何をおっしゃるんですか。この程度では、とても受けたご恩をお返ししたことにはなりません。どうかこれからも、いろいろとご鞭撻いただきたいので、末永いお付き合いをお願いします。
赤坂さん。
Such a kind young man. No, I've already done enough to disrespect him. Still, he's walking the long road on a path full of back-breaking work and little thanks. People like that get little sympathy, but I was truly proud I had the opportunity to know him. That's it. If he's involved, maybe he can do it. The answer I couldn't reach on my own. Finding the truth behind this mystery.
赤坂さん、もしよろしければ、ちょいと今夜、相談に乗ってもらってもいいですかね。
I need you to take my sword. I may just be causing him grief, but even so, if a glimmer of hope is out there, I have to reach for it. Take up my sword and behead the Hinamizawa Hydra. These really are just prologues and epilogues to the main story arcs, and I guess a couple of the console arcs, aren't they? Just very, very short and quick little segments. So, especially inconsequential, even by the rest of the console arcs we've seen, compared to the rest of the console arcs we've seen so far. Well, I mean, hey, at least on the plus side, it definitely won't take long at all to get through these then. But on the other hand, well, they're all short, so there's really not a whole lot to see here. Hell of a way to start the new year. Metropolitan Public Security, 7th Room Case File. Prologue. Seventh case file. I wonder if that's a sort of a subtle shout out to 07th. Probably is. Summer 2006.
これでよしと。
Once I finished organizing the material for handoff, I arched my back and stretched my arms out, then felt a light sense of relief.
さすがに結構な分量だったな。それにしても随分と便利になったものだ。
As I gazed at the laptop sitting on my desk, I let out a sigh. Crime scene reports detailing every single case. Various manuals and regulations detailing processing steps. Other public security laws and government ordinances. In the old days, it was necessary to browse through documents and thick files anytime you wanted to investigate something. But now you can see everything right away by performing a few simple operations on a machine the size of a sheet of paper. Not only that, but the time it takes to search through this information has been massively shortened thanks to the database we set up. I'm grateful for that. The files were still lined up in the shelves in front of us, but as a result, they've just been sitting there collecting dust. And the digitization of records wasn't the only thing that changed with the times. My job responsibilities and my surroundings were constantly changing, sometimes very suddenly. Naturally, I struggled to keep up with the flow of change.
私が校長か。
Now that's one hell of a career change.
柄ではないんだけどな。
To go from super cop to super principal. In keeping with the recent trend towards structural reform, the Metropolitan Police Department's Public Security Division was given a large-scale reorganization earlier this year. And starting next spring, I'm going to be the principal of the police academy. Ah, okay, so you get to train the future super cops. I would say that's one hell of a promotion. Nevertheless, I was completely shocked when I received a letter a few days ago notifying me of the change. The number of positions dwindles as you approach the top of the pyramid, so I wasn't planning to stay in the field of public security forever. But I never expected I'd end up in a teaching position.
きっと神様のお告げだよ。
Hello, Miyuki.
お父さんは今まで働きすぎだったから、そろそろ少しは休みなさいってね。
Indeed, I smiled bitterly as I thought back on what my daughter told me. I hadn't been working as fervently as some of my superiors and colleagues, but she certainly saw it that way. But public safety ordinances prevented me from telling my family the details of the work I do. As a result, my daughter has built up exaggerated expectations based on the stories she'd heard from the media.
この第7資料室の公開もあと数ヶ月か。
And then I'll never see it again. I thought it was such a drab sight when I first took office here, but now I'm sad to see it go. Life is full of ironies like that. You get sick of seeing something, and then once you realize it's going away, you're surprised that you're sad to see it go. I lost count how many times that's happened to me over my life. This room is a treasure trove of history, detailing all of the conflicts my colleagues and I fought and challenged together. Some were able to overcome adversity and find the truth. However, there were many where we struggled to find clues until the end, and many unresolved incidents that were regrettably interrupted before they could be finished.
その中の一つがこれだな。
I used the keyboard and mouse to navigate through the authentication system, then opened the case file for one particular incident. It was in June 1983. The document detailed an incident that happened in a remote village in the Chubu region, the Hinamizawa gas disaster. Next! Metropolitan Public Safety Security, 7th Room Case File, Epilogue. As I finished looking through the files, I let out a depressing sigh. After all, despite all the time I've spent investigating, I'm still no closer to revealing the mysteries behind the Great Hinamizawa disaster. And I'll soon be stepping away from investigating the mystery entirely.
情けない。
Even though I so enthusiastically swore I'd be able to accomplish it, this was the end result. Such a powerful start, but such an anticlimactic conclusion. I can't even muster a scornful smile.
すまない。リカちゃん。
I muttered one more apology to the girl who was no longer with us. If the incident hadn't happened back then, she probably would have grown to become a beautiful woman. And she could have been living a happy life with her family. It could have been a glorious future filled with endless possibilities. But no matter how many excuses I tried to make, I wasn't able to help her. I was too powerless, too insensitive to prevent that chain of tragedies. Of course, no amount of scathing self-loathing would ever be able to change anything. It was all over already.
やっぱりここにいた。
Hello, Miyuki.
探しましたよ、お父さん。あ、いえ、赤坂警視正。
I heard a light voice that sounded like a bell ringing through the darkness, and turned toward its source. And the person I found standing there was my daughter, Miyuki.
もう、引き継ぎの業務は来週からって話でしょ？相変わらずワーカホリックだな。お医者さんにまた怒られちゃうよ。
ああ、すまん。
I immediately apologized without thinking. But then I quickly noticed. This is a confidential office in the public security department. Shouldn't there be stricter security?
って、みゆき、どうやってここに入った？部外者のお前は立ち入り禁止のはずだが。
うん。加納さんにお願いして入れてもらったの。
Kano, you're fired!
何か問題が？
大ありだ。
The police department has very strict regulations, even if she's my daughter. Everyone involved will be strictly reprimanded for a violation of this kind. But Senpai, why would you willingly disobey that rule? Oh, wait, so he's your boss. Or your superior, rather. Kano, you're still fired!
あれ？お父さんにはまだ連絡行ってなかった？私来月から公安部に異動になったのよ。配属先はここ、第7室だって。
あ？
I foolishly raised my voice as I watched my daughter point her finger toward the ground. This was the first I heard of it. How had I not heard anything about this personnel assignment until now?
というわけですから、移動までの短い期間、引き継ぎとご指導をよろしくお願いします。どうぞ、お手柔らかに。
Miyuki strained to muster a salute as she said that and flashed me a shameless smile. When I saw that, I knew exactly who was responsible for this.
やられた。
This farce has to be one last act of mischief from Kano-senpai. Imagining the grin on his face was nauseating. Kano, you're fired.
何？
いや、なんでもない。
Still, even though she used to be such a cute little girl, she's getting stronger every year. And cheekier. How on earth did she grow up to have so many of these odd quirks?
そりゃあ親が親ですから。私に言われても困ります。
こら、口にしていない言葉を先読みするんじゃない。
だって顔がそう言ってるし。
あのな。あ。
As I tried to muster a reply, a smiling face suddenly appeared before me. Another face overlapped with my daughter's face and disappeared just as quickly, I think that effect would have worked more effectively if Rika's character sprite was transparent. Thus, we could also see Miyuki's face right behind it. Not having a transparency layer to her character sprite kinda ruins the effect a little bit, IMO. Indeed, something like this happened long ago. And now is the moment I decide I would stand up and fight to reveal the mysteries of Hinamizawa. Yes, that's right. It's not over yet. As long as I don't give up, as long as my will never gives out, the possibility of finding the truth will always be greater than zero. And even if I'm leaving this post halfway through, my own daughter, Miyuki, is coming here to take my place.
すまない、みゆき。
え？
お前に相談したいことがある。
I need you to take up my sword and behead the Hinamizawa Hydra!
大事な。多分お前にしかできない相談なんだ。聞いてくれるか？
I want to believe in this fate. No, I will believe in it. I swore that in my heart as I turned to face her. We're definitely been passing along the sword to a fair number of people already, and the Hydra is still alive, head on shoulders intact. You all suck at your job. Okay, so we just went over this one, yeah? Yeah. So, actually, let me just double check. I mean, it's just short.
これだ。
Yeah, yeah, it is. Okay, good.
お、聞いてくれるか？
All right. National Police Agency, Administrative Document, Prologue. Summer, 2006.
噂では聞いてたけど、やっぱいい眺めだな。
Staying at the top of the hill, I stretched my arms out wide and took a deep breath to fill my lungs with the fresh air. A serene countryside landscape was laid out right before my eyes, and distinctive thatched roof houses were beautifully peppered throughout the landscape. It was far more spectacular than I expected, and I couldn't help but let out a sigh.
お父さんも一緒にここから始めればいいのに。手分けした方が効率的なんて言わなくてもさ。
As I said that, I looked off in the direction I expected my father to be. Of course, there was no way I could see him from here, but I could just picture him furrowing his brow as he sifted through the case files, and I immediately burst out laughing. My father was currently heading off to survey the swamp, alleged to be the source of the volcanic gas. He called it the Onikafuchi Swamp. Nowadays, the land is buried in concrete. It's a huge vacant lot in the middle of the forest.
さてと、まずは定番通り撮影から始めますか。
So, I waved goodbye to the breathtaking scenery and went back the way I came. Luscious greenery was growing in the grassy fields along the way. The bright sunshine was brilliantly reflected in the raindrops that had fallen last night. When I stepped into the soft grass, my feet sank up in my ankles and water began pouring in. I could see a pitch-black, filthy stone lantern in a clearing up ahead. In the old days, there were tons of plants spread throughout the lawns and gardens, with clusters of cedar trees standing against the backdrop of pines in the forest. But now, the area was covered in tall weeds. It wasn't all that different from the flatlands deep in the mountains. I continued taking pictures as I made my way to the main shrine, and stopped in front of the ritual storehouse. The latch on the door was broken, and I caught a glimpse of the dark interior through the gap between the doors. According to the materials I read beforehand, a variety of unsavory tools and instruments were stored within.
撮影いいのかな。バチ当たったりしないかな。やっぱいいか。
Don't worry. Orishiro-sama won't bite. She's a good pup. After briefly getting lost in thought, I decided to leave the area for now. I'd already been there once to take a glimpse, but even I couldn't bring myself to go in again all on my own.
それにしても建物って人がいなくなるとこんなにも朽ち果てちゃうんだね。普段は人が住まない神社もしかりか。
I let out a sigh as I stared at the main hall. The paint was bare from weather exposure, and the decorative brackets were covered in rust. And the wooden parts were, needless to say, even worse.
さてと、次はどこに行こうかな。
I took a seat under the shrine gate, then pulled a map of the village out of my breast pocket and spread it out before me. It was a computer-generated map I was able to design based on the surveying conducted by my father and his fellow detectives. And the end result was pretty impressive. When my technologically inept father first saw it, he said, "You chose the wrong career path. You make a lot more money working for a design company." Still, even if he had said that sort of thing earlier on, it wouldn't have changed my mind. F you, Dad. I'm gonna do what I want. Indeed, it might be a bit overblown to say, but I believe that I was born to be a detective. Like father, like daughter, a pair of snoops, who like to stick their nose in places where they may or may not belong. And I came to this village in order to succeed my father's will.
今はフルデ神社だから。
I looked up at the sun high in the sky to confirm the appropriate direction. And then I turned my gaze down toward the map spread out in front of me and pulled a pen out of my breast pocket. Okay, last one. National Police Agency, Administrative Document, Epilogue. The alarm rang out just as I checked my watch. It was time to meet my father. I ascended the stone steps of the Furuti Shrine, straddled the folding bike parked there, and headed toward the former Sonozaki main building. When I arrived at the meeting place, my father was resting after finishing his investigation. When we exchanged materials to ensure we didn't miss anything on our respective investigations. Yeah, that should be good for now. After this, we'll report our findings at Ushi-san's grave before returning to Tokyo. He was a friend of my father from Hinamizawa. I hope he died peacefully. I'm sure he'll be pleased.
あれ？その携帯電話通じるんですか？
Just a moment ago, I noticed the man my father referred to as Captain talking on his phone. I waited until he finished his call to talk about it. For a moment, he made a face that said, "What are you talking about?" But he quickly understood what I meant and responded yes.
確かこの村のエリアって中継基地がないんですよね。それともここだと電波が届くんですか？
Oh yeah, there was no signal at any point for anybody's phone, in Yoigoshi. What gives, man? You got some kind of satellite phone?
違いますよ。これ衛星携帯電話ですから。
Aha! I called it! Literally. Ring ring. The captain pulled the phone from his breast pocket and handed it to me as he said that. It looked like an ordinary cell phone at first glance, but I didn't recognize the design, and the manufacturer was someone I'd never heard of.
通信衛星を使っていますので、海上でも通信することができます。
Satellite phones are cool as hell, but also expensive as hell.
もっとも結構な値段なので、海外旅行でもしない限り個人使用には向きませんけどね。
なんだ。それなら私も契約して持ってくればよかったな。
If I had, it would have solved a lot of our problems last night. Yeah, no shit. I could have avoided getting civilians involved in a dangerous situation and saved myself from all that cold sweat.
いや、違うか。
Yeah, it's my mistake for not having a high enough budget to afford a satellite phone. Oops. It's because of that time that a life that didn't need to die was saved, and a future that would have only led to despair at the end of suffering was cleared. It was nice to think of the end result of something like that.
そうだ。すみません。ちょっとそれお借りしてもいいですか？
いいですけど、何に使われるんですか？
I'm gonna call for pizza. That's what I'm gonna do with it.
実はちょっと一件上司から急ぎで連絡しろって言われてた案件を思い出しまして、本当はホテルに戻ってから電話するつもりだったんですけど、結局丸2日空けちゃいましたから。
ああ、そうなんですか。それならどうぞ。
Since it was for official purposes, the captain had no reason to refuse, so he agreed to let me use it. I said excuse me for a moment, then walked a short distance away and called my director. Unfortunately, the director was far more upset than I expected. I bowed my head, not that the director could see it. Maybe he sensed it, and explained the situation. But then she said, "Send the data and report immediately," and hung up on me. I couldn't help but sigh. I remembered using the data I created for tomorrow's meeting materials until the morning of 2 days ago. I worked all night to finish it, so all I had to do was just send it over. However, I caught wind that Ryunosuke-san, Arakawa, was heading to Hinamizawa to investigate, and I was so focused on getting ready to depart that I forgot all about it. Poor Arakawa. Fortunately, I brought a PDA to document all the information. But for now, it can't be helped. It's a pain, but I guess I should head back to Okinomiya for now. And when I told my father I was heading back early, the captain handed me back the satellite phone I just returned to him, and told me a convenient alternative.
これ、端末をつなげばデータ通信もできますよ。わざわざ沖宮に戻るより、ここから送ればどうですか？
Well, that's convenient.
いいんですか？
What luck. I took him up on his kindness once again, then pulled my PDA and communication cable out of my knapsack. Although I had a modem and adapter cable designed for cell phones, but maybe they'd be compatible with this satellite phone?
また。
I prayed as I lined the cable up with the socket on the satellite phone, then heard the click of a successful connection. Then I booted up my PDA, connected to the other end of the cable, and launched the mail application. Yep, looks like it's working.
じゃあこれ送信と。あ、そうだ。これも私のサバードに送っておこうかな。ついでに見ない室長にも。
Director Minai! She said it can wait until you head back, but I wanted to get to her as soon as possible, even if it's just one day. After all, this evidence corroborates what Director Minai has been saying for years. Okay, all done. As a precaution, I called the director to confirm she received the files, then closed my PDA. And then, I returned the phone to the captain with a skip in my step, thinking of what I could do to repay him for his help. Buy him a pizza. I came back to the Fruity Shrine once more, just before dusk. I passed through the remains of the garden in the shrine grounds, and walked through a pine forest, growing like weeds. From the top of this hill, I could see the entire village stained in a dusky vermilion hue. Excuse me. I carefully checked the rail to make sure it would hold, then leaned out over the edge of the hill. A strong wind blew up from the base of the cliff, running a refreshing chill along my sweaty body. This is a place of destiny. My father left a lot of things here. In the end, my father didn't come here. At first, I wondered if he was prioritizing the efficiency of the investigation, but when I asked him to come here again, that's when I finally realized he can't come here. This was the hill where a little girl asked my father for help, and his inability to fulfill that promise is a wound that can never heal.
Rika.
I softly whispered the girl's name. One day, long ago, my father told me that he met a girl in Hinamizawa who was like an angel, and her childlike heart truly touched him. Then I said I wanted to be friends with the girl. At the time, I had no idea how much sorrow those innocent words would inflict on my father. I once again turned to gaze at the village. Looking more closely, there was a section of the field that was greener on one side, indistinguishable from the muddy, algae-filled reservoir beside it. The straw-roofed residential houses still retained their original shape, even though there was no longer anyone living there. The village of the dead, where their spirits still dwell. A living hell of a tragedy happened here over 20 years ago. The truth of that is still unknown. Rumors and speculation are still flying around, doubting the presence of volcanic gas, but nothing has quite hit the mark.
それに、調べて、探し回って、真相を突き止めても。
The lives lost and the time past will never come back. The hopes and dreams of over 2,000 villagers. Those calm, peaceful days that truly existed over 20 years ago. Those are already just visions of the past. Only archaeologists are interested in conducting academic investigations of this place. So there's nothing left to heal the pain and regret of the people who were hurt. But even so, my father has dedicated the rest of his life to shining a light on this incident. Even though he's leaving his job in public security to take the role of the principal of the police academy, my father is still pressing onward down the thorny path to atone for the past.
ねえ、リカさん。いつになったら、お父さんは救われるのかな？どうやったら、悲しい思いを消して、心の底から笑えるようになるのかな。
I gently whispered those words to the wind, speaking to the person who might be in the sky now. But of course, there was no reply. that too was only for my own self-satisfaction.
「この惨劇がどうして起こされたのか、私たちだけでは真相に至ることが叶いません。どうかこれを読んだあなた、真相を解き明かしてください。それだけが私たちの願いです。
But even today, I'll gladly keep sending these messages, even if they never reach anyone. Well, I guess that's it. I didn't think that we'd get an additional epilogue to Yoigoshi out of this. Not complaining, but just like with all the other ones, I don't really feel like it really adds much of anything to the overall story. They're all just basically, here's how all this depressing shit happened, and then I won't let this mystery go unsolved. You over there, take up my sword and do what I could not, and snoop like your life depends on it. Rinse and repeat. Only this time, well, I don't know. Miyuki's not really passing the sword along to anyone in particular, unless you count us, the audience. But joke's on you, Miyuki. I've already slain that Hydra long ago at this point. So, dang. Got through a console arc in not only one episode, but under an hour to boot. I did not think it would go that fast. At all. So, I guess next time we return to the Higurashi console arcs, we're going to be starting yet another console arc. And hopefully the next one will at least be twice as long as this one. Preferably, I prefer it to be at least 6 times, but who knows? Who knows how long it'll actually go? I just hope it'll be interesting and offer something truly new and unique. Anywho, I hope you guys enjoyed this latest episode of the Higurashi When They Cry console arcs. If you did and you want to see more content from me, feel free to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you all next time. Take care.